Coco is... When I was parking, he stopped doing it now. When I was parking, he was sitting here whimpering and looking out the window and whimpering and looking out the window. And he's like, I know where we are. I gotta whimper about it. Yeah. You hear something? There is a big haymaker over there mowing the lawn and picking up the grass. They're mowing the golf course right now. Yeah. You hear it? Yeah. I think he's stuck in the grass. Tall grass is stuck on it. Anyways, Coco is ready to get out. We're at the... what do they call it? The signs. Yeah, signs over there. Just out of sight from the camera. There's Martell Field. Can't remember what the first name is. Something Martell? Martell always reminds me of my uncle Paul Martell, who got 14 years in prison. But that's running out soon. That was in 2015. It's now 2025. So he gets out in 4 years, doesn't he? Somebody wanted to know a while back, what prison is he in? And I'm like, I don't know. I think he's in prison in Massachusetts. Because he wasn't from Maine. They were looking for... I don't know why they were looking for him. They were looking for him in a Maine prison. I was like, I don't know. Most of my relatives don't live in Maine. He was arrested in Boston. He's the one who built a bomb that killed a bunch of people at some race. He's not the one that put the bomb there, but he's the guy who actually built it. He's also the guy who built the bomb that blew up my house in Old Orchard. The first house, not the second house. There were 2 houses different. There were 3 houses. We keep rebuilding. Bomb blew up one house. We rebuilt. Backhoe drove over the other house a few years later. Anyways, you hearing that lawnmower? Yeah, he's listening to that lawnmower. The FBI showed up after he was arrested, and they started asking me all kinds of questions. And I was like, I don't know who Paul Martell is. What are you talking about? And they're like, yeah, no, you got an uncle. Your family knew him as Paul Martell. That's not his real name. And then they said some other name, and I don't know what it was. They're like, your family knew him as Paul Martell. And I was like, okay. And then I found out one of my mother's sisters was briefly married to him, like for 2 months in like the late 60s or early 1970s. I don't know the exact details. It was before I was born. And so that's why I had no clue what they were talking about. After I was like, yeah, no, this guy that your family's related to. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Why are you asking me? I'd never heard of him before. And so he's some guy that one of my aunts was married to for like 2 or 3 months. And he's the father of one of my cousins. And it's a cousin who is the same age as me. We were born a couple weeks apart. And so obviously this guy was around before I was even born. I don't know why they thought I was going to know anything about him. But at that point, I didn't know at that point, there was still an investigation going on with the bomb from my house. And I didn't know that it was the same guy. And there was also some abortion clinic somewhere in Maine that he blew up. And that doctor's office that I was going to in Old Orchard, the one that the bomb blew up, he did that bomb. Almost every bomb in York County in the late 90s and early 2000s, he did. And that's why the guys that did the Boston Marathon bomb went to him and had him make it. Because he was a known bomb maker. But I didn't know any of that. That was the one, my doctor, First Care Clinic in Old Orchard on Saco Avenue. My doctor and 6 nurses all died. And there were 21 patients who were badly injured. I was supposed to be there. I was stuck in traffic. I was stuck at that red light there by the town hall. Not the light, what do you call it? That thing, it's like a rotary, but it's not a rotary. It's like not quite a rotary. And the traffic is crazy there. There's tourists going in and out to the beach. I was stuck in that traffic there. So I was like 10 minutes late to my appointment. Otherwise, I'd be one of the ones dead too. But because 3 different ones, there was 3. I forgot about the other one. Southern Maine Community College in 2013, there was a bomb. Bomb squad came in, took it out, dismantled it, so it didn't go off. It was in my classroom. There were 3 bombs that were connected to me. One was my house. One was my doctor, and at the time I was supposed to be at the appointment. That was in 2003. That was a long time ago. And my house was 2006. It was 3 years later. And then the one at the college was 2013. That was it March 2013? Can't remember. And then there were some others. They listed off a whole bunch of them. And they started showing me pictures because we had the bomb that had blown up my house. The firemen had found the remains of it, and they had brought it out and showed me, yeah, this is what happened to your house. And so I had seen it. And the FBI showed me all these pictures of different things, and they wanted to know the bomb that blew up your house. Does it look like any of these? And I don't know. I guess it was a bunch of bombs from a bunch of different people, because it was different types of bombs, the pictures they were showing me. And I was like, yeah, it looks just like this one. It was a grease fryer, one of those self-cooking grease fryers, and it had been full of fly tape and nails. And they had left it in front of the stove, which was only a few inches from the door of my bedroom. And when it went off, it heated up. It went off around 1 a.m. So somebody during the night snuck into my house and put that in there. I don't know who. And it had been set on high. And when it blew up, it set the whole building on fire. It took out the whole kitchen and the room. And that I used to have long Rapunzel hair that went almost down to my ankles. It burned off all of my hair. That was when I started wearing wigs. I had to start wearing wigs because it burned my hair off. That's where I got a lot of scars on my arms and faces. Well, those are all from that fire. because it was a few inches from my feet. It was right there at my bed. And so it was this yellow grease fryer, and it had brown corn cobs painted on it, and it was like all melted. Half of it was melted and the other half of it was still there, and it was melted to the linoleum of the floor, was melted to it. So when the firemen brought it out, it took 3 firemen to pick it up because it was an entire chunk of the floor like melted to it into this big solid piece. Like when a lightning bolt hits the ground, it turns it into this big fuse thing. It had done a thing like that. So they had a chunk of the floor with this grease fryer sticking out of it. And it was all melted and blobby glass looking thing. And so they had all these pictures of different bombs. And they wanted to know which one, the one in your house, which one did that look like? Did it look like any of these? And they said I identified that the bomb from the Boston Marathon bomb was the picture they said I identified as looking like the one, except the one in the picture they had was like a white grease fryer. Look, it was a different type of grease fryer, but it was the same sort of thing. And so they said they arrested him because of that. And after that, I started getting tons of death threats. And I didn't know I was getting them because I don't check my Facebook profile. So the FBI came back again, it was like a year later, with all these pictures of screenshots from my Facebook profile. Coco, stop. You're nervous biting because I didn't take you out yet. I know. We go out in just a minute. But the FBI had all these screenshots of my Facebook profile, and it was tons of death threats. And it was from this guy named Shem Atwater, and they're like, do you know Shem Atwater? And I was like, no, should I? And they said, well, he's a relative of Paul Martel. Okay. And then there was all these death threats from this woman named Yvonne Johnson, and they're like, do you know Yvonne Johnson? And I'm like, no. And I said, well, she's also a relative of Paul Martel. And it was both these people they were doing the same thing. They were both doing completely identical things. They were taking selfies of themselves holding guns. One of them, she had a Gatling gun bolted to the roof of a school bus. And we've actually seen that bus since then. They were here in Biddeford, 2021, driving the bus with the Gatling gun bolted to the roof, up and down Main Street in Biddeford. But she had a picture of herself with that. And then she had this, I don't know what you call them, one of those machine guns that's similar to a Gatling gun that has all the long belts you wear all over yourself. She had posted that. And she put her name right on it. And according to the FBI, that actually was a picture of her. She had posted that on my Facebook wall and said, this is the gun I'm going to kill you with. And then he was doing the same thing, this other guy. He had lots of pistols and smaller guns in his pictures. And a couple of bigger guns, but he was like surrounded by guns. And he had guns all over him. And he was posting the same thing with the exact same words. This is the gun I'm going to kill you with. And the FBI said again, this is who this guy is. It is a picture of himself. And they said that when they researched to find out who are these people, they said she was in Mississippi, and he was in Maine, and he's some child psychologist, they said. I was like, how somebody who posts pictures like that makes threats like that, child psychologist. And then they started telling me, they said, the FBI found 27 Facebook profiles made by these two people them pretending to be me, impersonating me, and writing all these weird, horrible stuff about a bunch of people that live around Maine in Biddeford, Old Orchard, and Saco area. And the FBI is showing me all these, and they're showing me all these lists of people, and they're like, do you know any of these people? I was like, no, I've never heard of any of them. And the FBI agent is telling me, they're trying to make it look like you're harassing these people. And at that point, I was still a quadriplegic, not a paraplegic. I couldn't move my arms or my legs. And the FBI's like, I mean, we can see that you're not the one doing this because you can't even lift your arms or type or anything. Okay. It's just, why are these people doing this? And then the FBI's like, well, they're relatives of this guy that went to prison because he built the bomb. But he's also the one that built the bomb to blow up my house. So what was that to begin with? I mean, why? And then they said, he's mad at the aunt, my mother's sister, that he's used to be married to. They said that he's mad at her. And so he's been having these people harass all her relatives to try to spite her. And then they said there was a baby up on the Jenkins Road in Saco. They say he did this, I think, in 94, they said. Around then. They said that it was his baby, and it was another wife. I guess he's had a lot of wives. He killed the baby. It was like 3 or 4 months old, and put it in a trash bag and dumped it in somebody else's trash can to try to incriminate them. Who is this guy? Why is he bothering my family? And because I didn't even know any of this stuff was going on. The FBI is telling me all this stuff this guy is doing, and I'm like, what the hell? But they said he was married to one of my mother's sisters back in the 1970s, back before I was even born. And he's mad at her. And so he's doing all this stuff partly to spite her and partly to impress her. And he's trying to get back with her. But then they arrested him and he ended up in prison. And now more of his relatives are mad because he's in prison. So now they're harassing all these people that they think put him in prison. And I'm one of them because I identified the bomb that looked like the bomb that blew up my house. I don't get it. And the whole thing boils down to one of my aunts briefly married some creep, and now he's attacking all of her distant relatives, and his relatives are attacking their distant relatives, and it's just crazy. But now that's also why my son was murdered, my 8-month-old baby. Some crazy woman beat his head in with a golf club and beat me with a golf club, and that's why my spine is broken, why I was a quadriplegic, why I am still in a wheelchair, why we have to... Yes, Coco, I see you. You're getting out. Just a minute. I gotta go around. I'll let you out. Oh, why I have a wheelchair. Wait a minute. I gotta unlock the door on your side. I only unlocked this one door. I'm just finally getting the use of my legs back. But yes, wheelchair. There we go. That's why I have a wheelchair, because my aunt married some crazy idiot who's a nut. They said that's the whole thing, and they're trying to find all these people that are connected to him. Alright, go ahead. Go, boy. Come here. Let me hook you here. Let me stand this. Stand this. Can I stand that? It's gonna fall over, I'm pretty sure. It didn't fall over. Wow, I'm surprised. Alright. Coco, I need to get this up first. Then we do the other stuff. Well, they still don't know. The FBI still doesn't know who the woman who crippled me was. They're still trying to identify her. Okay, set this here. And that's the thing I don't understand. Why is he going after people that never had a connection to him in the first place? And that's the other thing. They said they don't even think I was the one he was targeting. They said they think he was targeting my mother. And the person that he sent with the golf club had never seen either of us before. And because I look a lot like my mother, they said they think she had a picture of my mother and she thought it was me. But also, the house I was living in when the bomb blew it up, my mother owned it. I didn't. I owned the place next door. I own 146 Portland Avenue. My mother owned 144 Portland Avenue. The bomb blew up 144 Portland Avenue. And the FBI's pointing out, every time these things that were happening, there's more evidence. There's no evidence that I was ever the target, he says. He says all the evidence is that your mother was the target. And then they said, well, your mother spends most of her time with the ex-wife, her sister, that this guy is mad at. And that's why he's targeting my mother, because my mother and her sister do stuff together all the time. And he's trying to get back at my mother's sister by targeting the sister that she spends the most time with, which happens to be my mother. And I said, so when the FBI said that when the bomb blew up the house, they thought it was my mother there. They didn't know that my mother had left with Wayne and hadn't been there in several years, and that I was still there taking care of the house until she got back, which who the hell knew when that was going to be. That was the time when my mother and my father were going through the divorce. And so neither of them were there at the house. And I was there taking care of the house while that was going on. And so that's why I was the one that got injured when the bomb blew up the house, because I was the one that was there. But the FBI said they think that this guy thought my mother was the one there. So it boils down to, there's this crazy guy having a lover's spat with one of my aunts, and he's trying to get back at her by taking it out on his ex-wife's sister, to spite his ex-wife, to convince his ex-wife to go back with him. But they mixed up his ex-wife's sister with his ex-wife's niece. And so now I'm crippled for the rest of my life. A bomb blew up my house. A backhoe drove over my second house at the same location, because we keep rebuilding. And a crazy woman with a golf club beat my baby's head in and crippled me, all because this guy is mad at one of my aunts, and the idiots he hired couldn't tell the difference between me and my mother, and they were actually after my mother, not me. That's what the FBI says is going on. Who the hell are these crazy people? My mother gets involved in these crazy men too, which I think she meets through her sister. But I mean, my mother was with Wayne. We all know how well that went. He was the guy with the cats. You remember the cats? And that's another thing the FBI is pointing out. This whole thing with the cats, people will come up to me and they will talk about stolen cats and kidnapped cats, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Those were Wayne's cats. And there was some sort of a thing where my mother was mad at Wayne, so she took his cats, and then she went and hid him in my motorhome. My motorhome was locked up for the winter. Also, we had just bought it. It was a brand new motorhome. Just bought it. I only had it a couple of weeks. We were getting ready to take a trip to Alaska. We bought it to go to Alaska with. Only had it a few weeks. Blizzard hit, so we couldn't use it, and we were going to wait until spring. That was Blizzard Juno. Blizzard Juno, the one that was 12 feet deep. It was over the top of my motorhome. Hey, Coco. Yep. We're going. I'm getting your stuff. Just a minute. I gotta hook up this camera. Wait a minute. Let me sit down. And then I find out there's this whole big court case where, because the police took the cats, and then my mother went and told the police they were my cats, so the police went and did this court case in my name, but then my mother was going to the court and pretending to be me. So now there's this court case that is supposedly in my name, and it's supposedly a thing that I did, but I didn't even know about it, because in order to make sure that I didn't find out what they were doing, they pretended to be me and went to court saying they were me. What is wrong with me and this family? Why are we acting insane? I don't get it. And then people wonder, why don't you have contact with the kids? Oh, I don't know. Maybe they're all a bunch of criminals. I can't put the keys away yet. Look, are you still there waiting? I will continue this way. Over and lock the car. Then come back and get you. That's easiest. Coco's. Oh, there's a guy over there walking. That's how you see it. He's hoping it's Ben. Alright, now let's put the keys away. And this has been running over half hour. Yeah, video here, it's gonna be a half hour. It's just gonna be all this. Coco, now we can hear you. Oh, no, that's not Ben. This way. Come on. We're going this way. Coco. No. This way. Yeah. Coco, this way. You're gonna hyper run around me? Alright, wait a minute. That ain't gonna work good. Coco wants to take zoomies. What are you doing? Alright, come on. Let's go this way.